it's Angela from Bake Angel. Welcome back to my kitchen for another bake along. Now, if you're dairy free, with Easter coming, you may be wondering, well, what can I have? Most things for Easter contain dairy, which is a little frustrating if you're a dairy allergy family like mine. Don't worry though, I've got you covered in this video. We're gonna have a go at making some amazing white chocolate and cranberry hot cross buns, just like this one right here. Look how great that looks. You wouldn't know that there was no dairy in this at all. In fact, it's a vegan recipe too. So let's dive in and I'll show you how easy they are to make. So we're gonna start off by adding some of our dry ingredients to our stand mixer bowl. Now I am using a stand mixer for this recipe because we're gonna get it to do the kneading work for us. So if you don't have a stand mixer, just use a regular bowl and a mixer, like a hand mixer, and then you'll actually have to knead it by hand. So first of all, we're going to add in our all-purpose flour. This is 250 grams. And to that we have our yeast, salt and white sugar. Next we're going to add our melted butter, and it's a plant-based butter that I'm using. Then I have 150 grams of warmed milk, which again is a plant-based milk. And that's going to help with the activation of the yeast. Let's pop our dough hook on, and then we're going to give that a mix together. So I'm going to start off on stir. And we're just wanting the dough hook there to combine everything together. Again, this is saving us from doing the work ourselves. And once it's almost combined, we're going to add the rest of the ingredients in. Okay, that's as far as we need to go. I'm just going to scrape down the dough off of the hook, scrape down the bowl as well, everything back into the middle. So now we're going to add 50 grams of applesauce, which is just half of one of these containers. Roughly eyeball it. There we go. And then the last things we need to add are our dried cranberries and our vegan white chocolate chips. So I have 100 grams of the fruit, 50 grams of the chocolate. And then we're going to start off with stirring this, and then eventually we'll turn the speed up and knead it for 5 minutes. Now the purpose of the kneading is it's actually going to help to activate all of that gluten, as we've got the heat in there from the milk, we've got sugar as well. And we're going to see strands of gluten developing as it kneads. So now I'm going to speed this up, and then we'll come back and have a look at it halfway through. Okay, so we're halfway through the kneading cycle. Now you can see straight away how stringy and quite loose it is. Lots of strands developing already. What we want to do though is give it a scrape down and actually just make sure we are picking up everything that's in the bowl, especially with those mini chocolate chips. So a quick scrape and then a couple more minutes of kneading. Now if you are kneading by hand, don't worry if a lot of the chocolate chips and cranberries do keep coming out of the dough. All you need to do is just keep incorporating them back in, and eventually they'll stay in place. Let's get this finished off. Okay, so that's our kneading done. The last thing we need to do now then is prepare the bowl for the proving stage. Now I'm actually going to be doing this in my oven, as I have a proving cycle on there. If you don't, then you can just pop it somewhere warm, near an air vent or a radiator, even in an airing cupboard if you have one of those. And I'll show you the process of how we need to get that set up. So first of all, we're going to take off the dough hook. Just want to make sure that we scrape off the last of the dough. And then push everything down in the bowl. We want to try and form it into just a ball of dough. And we're actually going to prove it in this bowl as well. Now we can get a better look at that dough. Let me show you the gluten. You can see the stringiness that's appearing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is move all the dough to one side. We're going to spray the bowl. And then I'm just going to flip it over. Move the dough back to this side, which we just greased. And a little bit more spray on that side. Okay. So when you do this, just kind of remember how high the dough is at this point. So you can see it's here. It's probably going to rise to about here. Now, I recommend proving it for around 90 minutes, but check it around the 60 to 75 minute mark because it may actually be ready sooner depending on the humidity where you're rising it. Okay, last thing you need to do is cover it with some plastic wrap. You can also do this with a tea towel as well. Just want to make sure that it's covered. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit loose. And there we go, that's ready to go and prove. So we'll get that in the oven right away. Okay, so the first proof stage is done. Let's take a look at the mix and see how much it's grown. So you can see here it's definitely puffed up quite a bit. Feels nice and springy as well. So the next thing we need to do is pour it out onto the surface. See, that came out really easy. Feels lovely and warm as well. So I'll give it a quick knead up with some flour and then we're going to cut it up into the 6 buns that we need. So we're going to cut it first of all in half. See all that lovely gluten in there. Just run it a little bit in the flour because it's quite sticky in the middle. And then each of these into 3. Now you could weigh it if you want to. I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit more flour and then we're going to shape them. So just pop a little bit of flour on top, and I've got some on my hands as well. Now the easiest way to shape hot cross buns is if you make a C shape with your hand. Let's take this one first. And then you're just going to kind of roll it around in that shape of your hand. So there's one. Let's take our next one. Number 2. We'll just carry on for the rest of them. And then our last one. This one seems to have quite a bit of fruit in it. Let's roll it around in the flour. Okay, perfect. And before we pop them in to have their last rise, we're just going to pop them on a baking tray, and I've added some parchment paper to it. Now these will spread as they bake later, so you do want to leave a little bit of a gap between them, but it doesn't matter if they actually spread into each other a bit. There we go. So that's our 6 done. We're now going to cover them with plastic wrap again and then pop them back in the oven. There we go, and this time it's proven for 30 minutes. And this is what we use to make the cross on top. And all we have is 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of water, and we're just going to combine them until we get a pipeable mixture. Once it's stirred up, we're going to pop it in our piping bag. I've got a small mason jar, one of my tipless piping bags. Pop it in the jar. And then you can just spoon in the mixture. take the bag out of the mason jar, give it a squeeze down, and then we can actually tie it. We want to make sure that that slurry doesn't come out the other end. There we go. Okay, so second proof is over. You can see they've risen a little bit again. This one's a little bit misshapen, so we're just going to pat that back into shape. But you can see how they've expanded. They're a little bit closer together now. Some of them are slightly bigger than others, but that's okay. So last thing we want to do before we pop them in the oven to bake is just pipe the crosses on them. So I've got my bag with our slurry. I'm going to cut a little piece off. And then the easiest way is to start at one end. Oops, there we go. Give it a good squeeze as you go in. Same this side. Oops. That's better. Oops. Looks like I should have cut a slightly bigger hole. That's okay, we can just move it around. I missed a bit here. And then I'm going to turn it around and do the other way. So across here. So there they are, they can go in our oven now. As I said, it's going to be at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for around 25 minutes. Okay, so our hot cross buns are baked. I've just let them cool down for 5 minutes on the side. You can see they rose nicely. They've got a really lovely golden color to them as well. You can still see the cross is nice and visible. We've got our little pops of white chocolate and cranberries coming through as well. Last thing I'm going to do to keep them traditional is actually just brush the tops with some apricot jam. All I've done here is melt a tablespoon of apricot jam in the microwave, heated it up for about 10-15 seconds, and then you want to use a brush and just baste it on top like so. Gives it a really nice shine finish to the buns and an extra bit of sweetness on top too. Now, in terms of storage, you may find that these don't last very long. They usually go pretty much straight away in our house. But if you do have some left over that you want to store for the next day, you can either store them in an airtight container for 2 to 3 days at room temperature, so just pop them on your counter, or you can wrap them up in foil as well. Now, something I do recommend if you're going to serve them after a day or two is why not pop them in the microwave, give them a warm up, and then slice them and add some jam or butter, or you could even cut them in half, pop them in the toaster, and then just heat them that way too. Either way, these are definitely worth serving a little warmer, and they are going to taste amazing. So there we go, our 6 white chocolate and cranberry hot cross buns. Hope you've enjoyed watching this video. As always, don't forget to check the description below where you'll find the full recipe link so that you can recreate these at home. And thanks for watching. I'd love to hear what you thought of this video in the comments below. Happy baking, and I'll see you next time.